On today's show, my voice is gone, which means the Senators have won another home opener, this time 3-1 against the Florida Panthers.
Linus Ullmark shined in his regular season debut. Sens fans were saying, we have a goalie, and Tim Stützle is a dog.
Timmy, superstar. All that plus a weekend preview against the Montreal Canadiens on today's Locked On Sens.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens in the heart of our nation's capital, Ottawa, Ontario. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. You can also follow the show on social media. We're at Sens Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available everywhere you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Today is Friday, October 11th, and Pilsy, boy, my voice hates when the home opener comes to town.
Especially when it's a home opener win, Ross, which is
always
all the time. We're now 4-0 in home openers. It feels so good being 1-0 on the season. It's so much nicer starting the season at home. Like last year, there was the Carolina game on the road. That is a game the Sens aren't going to win, so you're already down. But starting at home, up against the reigning Stanley Cup champions, lots of nerves, lots of anticipation. You're not sure how things are going to go. But the Senators came out swinging. I mean, Ross, my hot takes are looking pretty good so far. On the first power play, we both looked at each other and were like, they have to get it going right away. And they did. Tim Stützle with a power play goal to start off the season. So just so you know, Tim Stützle is leading the team in power play goals already. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
He certainly is. Now, we also said the Sens had to get the first power play. They did. It was a high sticking penalty, which should have been 4 minutes. I mean, Shane Pinto had one of those nose plugs up there. You don't do that if you're not cut. So
yeah, it's not a cool look.
2 minutes was plenty enough for the Ottawa Senators. And I actually want to get into that power play a bit because Tim Stützle and Jake Sanderson were making magic at the top of the umbrella, and Timmy does that little reload play where he comes in, creates a different look, has some speed, gives it back, and then gets into another open area. They just created so much space, and that's something that we said in the past. They slow it down on the power play. They were playing with pace, and they had an emphasis in mind.
But we got to give a lot of credit on that Timmy goal to Josh Norris. That play that he did to turn around and bank it off the boards so that Timmy could get it and wheel, that was a good play by Josh Norris. So the power play was looking great for the Ottawa Senators as they go 1 for 3 on the night. And then, Ross, my other hot take is they're going to do good on the special teams, 1 for 3 in the power play, and they shut the door on the Florida Panthers power play. The penalty kill goes perfect 2 for 2 for Ottawa.
It was impressive to see for the Ottawa Senators, especially that Gaudette penalty, an offensive zone penalty by a fourth line center. You have to kill those off because that could be a backbreaker for the bench.
I thought he was done for the night. Like the way Travis Green reacted, and then on the Jumbotron, they showed the zoomed in picture of Gaudette in the box, and you could see it in his eyes. He's like, oh man, I might have screwed up big time. But he ended up getting power play time and regular shifts, so it didn't end up being a big deal.
Well, it helps when the next shift after they kill off the penalty, Shane Pinto goes down on a 2-on-1 on his strong side, keeps, shoots, scores 2-0, just like that.
And when that, like, obviously the Timmy goal, power play goal to get things started, the building was rocking. But when that Pinto goal happened, I thought the roof of the CTC was going to fly off. The vibes were incredible. All 19,346 of our closest friends were there. It was a sellout. I love seeing on Twitter, Ross, when they post the attendance numbers and the Sens are on top. That was great to see. So shout out all the beautiful Sens fans that were in the building.
Shout out to the Sens. We'll get into our experience at the CTC a little bit later on, but this game was too good not to lead with on today's show. So they do get that 2-0 lead, and Pinto looked awesome at both ends of the ice. I actually thought that line with Perron and Amadio was the Senators' best throughout the night. They could add a second in the first period. Shane Pinto somehow was able to feather a cross-ice pass to David Perron and he got all of the one-timer. You
Yeah,
just
that
have
was a nice
to
chance.
you just have to tip your hat to Sergei Bobrovsky there. He made a fantastic save. So I'm excited to see what that line can do. Travis Green after the game mentioned that they were going head-to-head against Sam Bennett's line. That's not an easy matchup with Matthew Tkachuk on that line as well. So credit to Pinto and his wingers. They stepped up big, and they gave the Senators an extra layer of depth that in previous years they just didn't have.
Well, and that's what we were talking about, Ross. In yesterday's episode, I mentioned that I thought it might have been a smart play to have that third line battle up against the top line, the Barkov line. But I think
Timmy did a good job against Barkov.
Yeah, it did.
Obviously, we hope Barkov's all right. It was a scary collision going into the boards, but I thought all game he was with them step for step.
Yep, and that's the type of challenge you want to see your number one centerman take and succeed in. So shout out to Timmy for that. But I think it's so smart that they crafted that third line like that with Perron, Pinto, and Amadio, because they're going to be able to defensively do a better job up against other teams. Maybe not always the top line, but some second lines that are going to be big threats like the Florida Panthers. And then that gives you the opportunity to match, especially when you're at home, get a little bit more favorable matchups the other way. So I thought the way Travis Green rolled the lines tonight was really well done.
2-0. The Senators were leading after the first period. And I happened to turn to you right before that goal when they killed the penalty. I said, next goal wins. And I know a little early.
You called it.
Little early in the game for that, but I just felt like you had to have a 2-goal lead because there was going to be a push coming, and it certainly came in the second and more importantly in the third period where Ottawa was outshot 16-9. Let's talk about the attention to detail though for the Senators.
Okay.
30 block shots, Pillsy, in this game. I don't know if we saw that often from the Senators last season, but the commitment for every single guy laying out, blocking shots was certainly noticeable from the stands.
Well, Ross, I feel like we did see the block shots last season, but it was because it was more out of desperation and unfortunately not a lot of confidence in the goaltending, right? Like it was like, if I don't throw myself in front of this puck, there's a good chance it's going to go in. But it seemed more disciplined and right time, right place, position-wise block shots rather than those desperation. And I thought I want to give a big shout out to Sandy, who led the team with 7 block shots. I mean, to have your number one defenseman, $8 million man, putting the body out there like that is pretty impressive. I thought Jake Sanderson had a great game all around, and he led the Sens with time on ice 24-48.
He's so good at defending his own blue line and in zone defending.
And how about that play? Was it Bennett that was coming in and he tried to chip it past Sandy, and Sandy knocks it down, and then Bennett goes offside, and Bennett just is like, how'd that happen?
Yeah, that was
play.
Awesome. And Thomas Chabot with 5 block shots in that game as well. Funny enough, Thomas Chabot only played 1 less shift than Sandy, but played 6 less minutes.
Wow. And there wasn't even that many power plays. Like,
no.
Interesting.
So, credit to the Ottawa Senators. Huge win in front of the home crowd.
But Ross, we've gone 9 minutes as a hashtag goalie friendly show. I think we've buried the lead a little bit here. Shame on us, because the first star of the game, number 35, Linus Ullmark, anyone was talking about, especially after that first period, any Sens fans that I was meeting up with, that I was bumping into, talking about the game, everyone just breathed a big sigh of relief and said, it's so nice we have a goalie. And without Linus Ullmark in that third period, like the Panthers were pressing that third period, but Ullmark just did so well. Like I'm trying to think, and he's the kind of goalie where there's not even those big...
The wraparound.
That was the one I was going to mention.
The right pad came out of nowhere, especially the angle we were looking at. Defensemen were in the way. All we saw was a wide open net. And then all of a sudden, this right pad just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, but mostly he didn't have to make those big athletic saves because he's just in such good positioning. Even when things get a little scrambly and he's got to move left to right because there's deflections or rebounds or what have you, he's still square up to the puck. He never looks like he's lost control or out of the play at all. So yeah, we're so excited I am excited that Linus Ullmark is here and that he's signed, because if he wasn't signed, then it becomes kind of a weird thing where you're like, oh man, he's playing so good, but the dollar signs are going up as he plays better and better. So now we don't have to worry about that. He's got a nice, beautiful new deal, and it was an amazing showing for like Linus Ullmark to see and experience the CTC at the home opener and be the first star. You could see it when he was talking to Claire Hanna on the bench after. He was like, this is more than I expected. And it was awesome to see him have a great game.
Linus Ullmark is an Ottawa Senator. He made 30 saves on 31 shots. The only goal he had no chance on, it was a rocket from Gustav Forsling with so much traffic in front of the net.
Yeah. That's not one goal where like he let in a tough goal. There was no chance he was stopping that one. So
what's more surprising, holding the defending Cup champs to 1 goal, or the fact that these two teams combined for 10 penalty minutes in the game after what we saw last year?
Good point. Yeah, and we were talking about this after. We didn't see any scrums after the whistle.
There were a couple battles between Matthew Tkachuk and David Perron, and there were a couple battles between Brady Tkachuk and Aaron Ekblad, which is natural left wing, right D, but nothing greasy. Like best, like there were some clean hits. Jensen got rocked, didn't he? And so did Sam Reinhart. Choo-choo. Tyler Clevin, the K train, showed up last night, left the station. It must be an homage to me taking Via Rail home from Montreal on Sunday.
There you go.
But my goodness, Clevin, I thought, look, him and Hamonic, they had more defensive zone starts, but they were also hemmed in a little bit in the third period. But I thought they also made a lot of smart plays. Hamonic had a couple plays where he separated the body from the puck, and his winger was able to just come pick it up. I thought there was no weak link for the Ottawa Senators last night.
No.
A great team win.
Yeah, I would agree. And
Nick Jensen +2.
Yeah, that's good. I love to see that. And like Hamonic and Clevin end up getting around 17 minutes. So even though Sandy is the guy with high minutes here, they were rolling the D lines nicely. So just like, honestly, Ross, it's so refreshing. Like I don't have any nitpicks for this game. Like the Ottawa Senators came in, they executed perfectly up against a top tier team and a team that's had their number all last season. So this is a great start to the season, and you got to give a lot of credit to the coaching staff. They had this team ready to go, and you got to give a lot of credit to the players. They stepped up.
You want to do it again tomorrow?
Yeah, I would love to do it again tomorrow in Montreal. Oh, boy.
We've got our tickets. We will be in Montreal in section 108 tomorrow. Senators, Habs, Ottawa going for a 10th straight regular season win over the Montreal Canadiens. So what does that matchup mean? More on that, and we'll explain our experience last night at the Canadian Tire Center and the Glebe Central Pub. Next, you're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. If you're looking to hire, don't hire, match. Indeed is the best way to find candidates for your job. And visit their website, ditch the busy work, use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so that you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. What are you waiting for? Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit so that you can get your job listing notice. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Senators podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
All right, Pillsy. I should have said this in the first segment, but I'll get it out here right now. If you're listening to this very soon, you can come see us at Farm to Fork. We're going to go check out their store, and you can too at 1570A Carling Avenue. Great people, great food, and you will never go back to grocery store meats. Shout out Farm to Fork. Shout out the Glebe Central Pub. That was the smoothest sailing it ever could have been. I was nervous. We left the pub at 5:45.
Yep.
And we were in our seats at 6:30.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, for people that haven't taken the Glebe Central Pub shuttle, you're missing out, especially, like I mentioned, the out-of-towners, or if you're going to the game by yourself, it's a great way to get in a group of Sens fans. We were rocking at the GCP before. We had an absolute blast. The pub was packed. the Glebe Central Pub is just awesome.
Sens headquarters.
We can't thank them enough. And I think people are really starting to recognize that it's a great place to be, especially when you get a group of Sens fans together.
Vibes are free at the GCP.
Yes,
So
sir.
shout out Sue. And it was just an awesome ride to and from the GCP. But when we got to the rink, I mean, it felt like home. The washroom taps were ice cold. The beer was cold. They've got the self-serve now. What do you think of that? Just being able to grab beers, put it down.
It was smooth.
It was smooth. They went down. Hey, thanks for everyone who dropped off beers at our seats, by the way, too. We're still looking for who spilt all my beers, but it wasn't me.
We'll find the culprit, I'm sure.
We have to find out who did this. But back to the game itself, and I guess the atmosphere surrounding. What do you think of the new tradition, the ringing of the bell to start the game?
I thought it was cool. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, like excuse me. This is one of those things that we talked to the marketing team. Like they're gonna try stuff, and that's something they hadn't really done. Had the Sens ever had like a pre-game prop that they use? Not that
just that gladiator once.
Yeah, yeah. And we know
forgot his lines.
We know how that went. I think it's a cool idea, but it needs some work. I'll say that. But it's a fun idea.
It is a fun idea. Hey, everything's fun when the team wins, right? And that's what it all comes down to. You win and you can get away with a lot more. So we had an absolute blast. Got to meet a ton of Sens Central citizens. Got to see Erin in her box wearing a Sens Central crew neck. That was awesome. And always great catching up with all the Sens Central citizens out there. And it really does feel like home at the CTC. And we can't thank everybody enough for that.
Ross, how many, I forgot, we were starting a counter, but I lost count. How many times did you say, man, I love Ottawa?
Oh, at least 150.
Because we're used to, in our home territory, getting chirped and heckled for wearing a Sens jersey. You're walking around Ottawa.
Our guy Matt at the Manx, we went for lunch there before the day started. He's picking our brain about Linus Ullmark and all the new changes. He's like, this is the first year of hope in like a decade. Like, it's just awesome. We're walking down the street. People are like, oh, you going to the game? Things like, it's just awesome. I love Ottawa.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. And when we get to the CTC, it feels like home. We're amongst so many friends, and we can't thank everyone that stopped by, that said hello, grabbed pictures with us. It's a surreal experience, and we do this show because we love the Ottawa Senators maybe just as much as you guys.
Yeah, that's just it. Well, Jerry, who we were sitting with at the Glebe Central Pub, said, I love watching your show because no matter how high or how low I am after a game, I know you're either going to be higher or lower. So it's therapy for him in a way, and we appreciate that a ton. Now, back to the game, because last night we did a quasi postcast. It was great setting, right, with the GCP in the background.
We had to throw a couple postcasts in the garbage too. We did about 3 different postcasts, but some of them we're a little too excited for, and the audio wasn't great.
The audio was so bad. I wasn't going to put that one out. It would have made that live we did during the draft where we thought the internet was good and it was awful. It would have made that look like good content.
Yeah.
Hey, we're just taking swings out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Just taking swings, but we're not done. We're going to Montreal. And we're going to the Peel Pub beforehand. It is right around the corner from the rink. Would love to see as many Senators fans there as possible. We're going to aim to get there around 3:45. So if you want to go, have a bite, a pint, or a chocolate milk. I know our guy Kevin Hemina is going to want to do that. Go to the Peel Pub in Montreal, 4 p.m., 3:45, 4 p.m. on Saturday, tomorrow. So we will be in section 108 at the Centre Bell. And look, I know I like to have fun with Habs fans online.
Do you?
A little bit. This is one of the places to go in the NHL. I cannot wait. I haven't been to the Bell Center in 10 years. Last time I was there, Jakob Silfverberg had the game-winning goal for the Sens.
Nice. Hopefully someone else gets the game winner this time. I've only been there once. It was a 5-1 loss. Not a great experience for me. So I'm excited to see it ramp up.
But you got me with you.
Exactly. And yeah, 15-1-1, our boots on the ground record. Honestly, at this point, it seems fake. Like every time I say it, and then I really think about it, I'm like, that is nuts that a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 7 years, whenever we go, they seem to win. So we've said it. Open invite for the Sens to give us season tickets. If their analytics department was truly on advanced stats, they would be aware of that. But we'll see.
Well, we saw Cyril Eder last night.
Yeah, we did. It was good to meet him.
It was great to meet him, but we forgot to bring it up and say, hey, look, offers on the table. We are willing to go to games. So we're 15-1-1.
Oh.
Outstanding. And now the Senators are 25-11-3 when all of Tim Stützle, Josh Norris, and Shane Pinto play.
This stat is going to get out of hand this season if all three can stay healthy. And we had a lot of Sens fans giving us hot takes that Josh Norris is going to be healthy all season. So I hope they're right.
He was playing hard last night.
He was finishing his checks. Like, he was really feeling out what that shoulder could do, and it didn't seem like he was limited in
They only gave him 2 hits. This is why you got to watch the games, because I think a lot of them were finishing checks.
I give him 4.
I'll give him a 9.
I'm glad you dropped down from 20.
He can't break Brady's all-time single game.
No.
But no, all jokes aside, I think that it was even nice to see, even if they weren't like, full-on hits with the puck, all that, but just being confident in finishing his hits and rubbing guys out as he was going by. There was no flybys for Josh Norris.
Or anybody, really.
Anybody.
And, I mean, we're talking about the hits, but really the concern with Josh Norris's shoulder is the faceoffs. And he was snapping them back in the faceoffs. He went 5 for 8, 63%. So, and the whole team was doing good. Like Brady, 5 for 6.
Everybody except for Timmy got cleaned out by Barkov.
Yeah,
1 for 5.
Yeah, 1 for 5. You got.
But that's why Claude there. Claude went 4 for 7 against Barkov.
Yeah, and then Pinto took 20, 9 out of 20. Not amazing, but that's a tough draw up against Bennett as well. And then Claude Giroux, 7 out of 10. So
he went 4 for 10 against Bennett. 2 for 2 against Lundell.
Yeah,
he struggled against Rodriguez and Bachvis. Funny enough, he went 2 for 6 against them. But I mean, he was 45%. So credit to him. And Norris he took 8 faceoffs, but 63%. We said we need him up above 52, 53. So he's way up there in last night's game. So we love that to see for Josh Norris. We love that as a team that the Ottawa Senators are healthy. And one thing that Travis Green also did was utilize everybody. Only Adam Gaudette played less than 10 minutes in this game, and not even 10. The lowest time on ice outside of Gaudette was Nick Cousins at 12:09. They were rolling all 4 lines, and I think that's going to be a huge key for sustained success.
Well, Ross, especially when you go up against a team as good as Florida, right? Like, you can't just rely on your top guys because they have good depth. Like, even we were talking about it, Florida's third line is a nice third line, even after a Stanley Cup hangover and having to let go of some people. Nick Cousins, obviously one of them. Like, they still have the depth, and you want to be one of those teams, Ross, where other teams look at you and say, we have to roll our lines against them because of their depth. So the Ottawa Senators are trending towards that. I mean, it's game 1 out of 82, but so far so good.
For example, the 4th line on Florida, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and 10:02. So they had a lot more top-heavy players. They had guys in the 20-minute mark. The Senators had nobody play over 20 minutes up front. Tim Stützle with 3 seconds to spare. So that stat stands.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Tim Stützle, by the way, I know we talked about him, but that empty net goal, the hustle, the heart, the determination, he's not doing that last year.
No, like the tinted visor, he's almost like it's like an alter ego. He's like a villain now. Yeah, you can't see what he's up to, but that was just
sick.
It was a dog play. Like, he battled.
And his wrist is fine. That shot on the first goal ripped.
Yeah. But there was a moment. Tim Stützle drew a penalty,
which could have been a penalty shot.
Should have been.
But no.
But you wanted the 2 minutes
with 4 minutes left in the game. Don't you want to drain the clock
if you're confident in your power play unit,
yeah,
which the Ottawa Senators should be. So yeah, but he did have that moment where he slid into the boards there and he got up a little slow. I was doing the ISO cam on him the whole time after, but he looked okay, so I'm not worried.
And we are hoping that Alex Barkov is okay. Scary collision, but
better with
Kyle Bukauskas on 32 Thoughts. Obviously, he was in the building last night. He said that Barkov was seen leaving with no crutches or anything like that. So hopefully Barkov is good.
Yep.
And hopefully Tim Stützle is good too. On the other side, Tim Stützle is in the heads and minds of the Montreal Canadiens and their entire fan base. Let's get a preview of what we expect to see tomorrow. Senators, Habs. This is Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Ross, we had a nice night on FanDuel last night. Unfortunately, Pilsy's parlay of the day didn't hit, so that's how you know everything is normal in the world. I was one off, though. The over didn't hit. I was hoping Timmy would pot a couple more goals there to help me out, but your Levy lock, Timmy's shots.
It did.
That one hit. So
3 shots for Timmy.
Hopefully you guys are following along because FanDuel is the #1 sportsbook in North America. Why would you go anywhere else when you got a hunch in the middle of the game? You can check on the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So you want to go to FanDuel. New customers are going to get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. I know Ross and I are going to be looking at FanDuel when the odds are out, and more importantly, when Linus Ullmark is the starter confirmed up against the Montreal Canadiens this weekend. We're going to be getting back in there. So check it out, guys. FanDuel.com.
All right, Pilsy, we've made it to Friday. I hope everyone's had a great week. Helps waking up on a Friday after the Senators win the home opener 3-1. Against the Florida Panthers. Now we turn our attention to Saturday night, the first hockey night in Canada this season in the Centre Bell. And oh my goodness, what an opportunity for Ottawa. The Habs have already played 2 games. They're 1-1. They fell to Boston last night. By the way, Mark Haslick, 2 goals in that game for Montreal. Ooh, Casty. But the Habs, they had a great goaltending performance in game 1, a not so good one in game 2. You know Samuel Montembeault is going to start for the Habs tomorrow night. He did shut out the Maple Leafs, 47 saves in that win. For Ottawa, they've got an off-ice workout today, so we're going to expect that the same lineup will go over the boards, whereas for the Montreal Canadiens, it's just not a deep team. Say what you want about it. It seems like they've already made a move up front, moving Slavkovsky off the Suzuki-Caulfield line, putting him with Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook, and having Josh Anderson up there. So, look, the Habs don't scare me at all. This is what the Senators have to do with their own game, and it's just playing consistent. And basically, if they play the same game as they played last night against Montreal, they're 2-0.
Oh, it's going to be a breeze. Yeah, but Ross, this could be a classic trap game. You have a big win.
Can't have a trap game 2.
This is you win a big game up against the Stanley Cup champs. Then you go and you're facing a much weaker opponent in the Montreal Canadiens. So you got to keep that consistency. You got to bring that same mentality, that same effort. And I think with the bad blood and the heated emotion between the Habs, I'm not concerned that the Senators won't bring it. And especially Ross, we know Tim Stützle loves trolling the Habs, so we'll see how that goes.
Over under the 10 penalty minutes that we saw in last night's game.
Oh, way over. Yeah.
Who do you want to see go head to head with Suzuki? Just put him with Timmy.
I don't care.
I don't really. Power play is going to be my key. Power play is going to be my key to victory. I think that the special teams for the Habs is something that I think they are decent on the power play in terms of their personnel. Ottawa, they outscore the Habs on the power play. They're going to win the game.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, really. I almost feel like we're giving the Habs too much respect if we go in and break them down.
Oh, I'm not giving too much respect here.
And keep an eye on Pilsy's Twitter account.
Yeah,
we might have a big farmer's bet.
I'm feeling good. Yeah.
What do you anticipate walking into the Bell Center to be like tomorrow?
I have no clue. Because last time I went there, it was in March, and the Sens and the Habs were both way out of it, so there wasn't really a whole lot of emotion involved. But I think Habs fans are.
And you had your human shield with you. I feel like when you're with a lady, people aren't going to chirp you as much.
It's true, yeah, and I wasn't getting that rowdy, especially it wasn't.
We're going to be respectful.
I hope so.
No, we're going to be very respectful.
Yeah, no, we are.
It's the Bell Center. It's like the cathedral of hockey. So I'm just excited to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Would I like to leave with a 10th straight win head to head?
It'd be beautiful.
I would.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I would. So if you're going to the game, let us know. Would love to see Sens fans. We expect the Habs to line up with Suzuki between Caulfield and Anderson, Kirby Dach between Newhook and Slavkovsky, Jake Evans between Brendan Gallagher and Joel Armia, and Christian Dvorak centering Alex Barré-Boulet and Oliver Kapanen. On defense, Mike Matheson with Justin Barron, Lane Hudson with Caden Gooley, and Arbor Jackeye with David Savard. So we'll see if that's actually how things go. That's what they played with their last night's game. But third game in 4 nights, maybe Marty St. Louis is going to shake things up. He was rather pissy after last game. So I'm curious to see how the Habs come out on a Saturday night. And I can't wait to be there and hope you guys follow along at Sens Central on Twitter. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me is, again, thanks to all the Sens fans that made last night so memorable, and thanks to everyone for supporting us by going to the GCP. It really means a lot when our sponsors see that people will support them through us, and that's a big part of what we do, and we can't thank everyone enough because it was a great showing and an absolute blast.
Absolute blast, and I can't wait to do it again next year. If you missed out on this home opener, book it off for next year, right when the schedule comes out.
You can't miss the home opener. And we tell everyone this.
Incredible.
Like if you're not going to the home opener, you better have some pretty good excuses.
Doctor's note.
Yeah, doctor's note, new babies, stuff like that, canceled flights. I kayaked to the CTC. You guys can all make it. You got to make it.
All right. Okay. We will have a proper-ish, maybe, postcast for. There will be some sort of content for you tomorrow after the game. We're staying right across the street from the Bell Center, so maybe we'll run back and do a proper, like this recording, like we did in Minnesota. That's the only time we were lost.
Yeah, not like we did in Minnesota.
Not like we did in Minnesota. No, like we did in Winnipeg.
What is there a statue near the Bell Center?
There's probably so many.
So we'll set up a statue. Yeah.
Patty Waugh. Goalie-friendly show. That's Brandon Piller. I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you for watching, listening, engaging, and hanging out with us at the CTC. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.